Hi there. So you might be here for a few different reasons. Maybe you're a startup or scale up CEO who's looking to make that next leap in growth, and you're looking for marketing leadership, or you're unsure of how to build out a marketing team or enact some marketing strategies, and you're sort of missing that on your team. You need that experienced leadership to come and help drive that forward. Or maybe you have a budget for that marketing team and that campaigns, and you're sort of frozen of where to start. Maybe you have some junior marketers already in place and you're managing them as a CEO, and it's really hard to balance the competing priorities, and you just don't have enough bandwidth to give it the proper the attention that it deserves. Or maybe you just need a little bit of help to sort of get you on the right track with your marketing strategies and ensuring that those strategies are executed and put in place properly. My name's Mike Thompson. I'm a fractional CMO for B2B SaaS startups and scale-ups. I'm originally from the US. I have over 10 plus years of experience, and I'm currently living in France. So I have experience with nonprofits and tech startups, both in the US and in Europe. And I have a MBA here from HEC Paris. I'm really focused on helping startup leaders, startup CEOs, scale-up CEOs, really create growth-oriented marketing structures so that the marketing and sales teams are really empowered to achieve the vision, your vision as a CEO. From that experience, I believe that there are better strategies and better solutions in place for building marketing teams and leading marketing programs. I have a diverse experience and worked on many different projects, mostly B2B, but some B2C as well. I've been the first marketing hire, built teams, launched products, even for large multinationals, and I've enacted strategies and followed those and helped scale businesses. So all of those experiences and all that background is not to toot my own horn. It's really to put into evidence that I've come to this conclusion over the course of time. So usually, especially as a first marketing hire, what I see very intimately, I've learned the challenges of startups. And there's really three solutions that startup founders will default to when they're trying to address marketing issues in their company. The first one is they might hire junior marketers, young professionals, maybe 1 to 5 years of experience. And then they try to manage them in parallel with all the other responsibilities you might have. So you might be fundraising, looking over products. You might be dealing with clients or going on sales calls because you're a CEO, founder, and you have a lot of responsibilities. But the marketing doesn't get the full-time attention from a senior person that it deserves and that it needs really to flourish. And also that junior marketer you might have hired, or those junior marketers, might feel a little lost in what they're doing, and their work may not be within a strategy. Another solution I see is hiring marketing agencies or even freelancers. And there's sort of this hope that I'll hire them, they're experts and they have a portfolio of awesome results, and then that they're just going to produce those results for me, for my business. But they're always an outsider. And quite frankly, agencies are amazing and can give a tremendous results, but they need to be well guided in the right direction. And they need to be managed. Otherwise, they just burn cash and you get mediocre, if no results. Then the last solution you see a lot of startups and scale-ups do is hire a full-time CMO. That seems to be a really natural conclusion. You've hired junior marketers, you've hired agencies, things aren't working. We need somebody to come in and own marketing, and we want somebody to become part of this team. So you go out and you search for a full-time CMO. These CMOs, you want them to have, 8 years of experience in B2B SaaS or whatever your industry is. But you also want them to be operational because they're the first hire. So you're hoping that they can enact the strategies and carry out the strategies that they've put in place. There's a lot placed on this one individual. So I find that startups between 1 and 25 million of ARR, these are the ones that really will turn to one of these three options, if not some sort of mix of all three. So the question that I was always asking myself on behalf of clients, on behalf of my employers, was how can I get better return and better results from every euro or every dollar spent? So that's what made me consider and eventually become a fractional CMO. A fractional CMO, very simply, is a really competent, experienced marketer who's going to be able to provide a company the senior leadership and guidance and strategy and management that's needed around the marketing function and the marketing department. But it's done on a part-time basis. It's not done on a full-time basis, fractional, so a fraction of the time. So that's what it is. Now, the question would be, well, what's the right company? What's the right fit to have a fractional CMO? Is your company the right fit for a fractional CMO? The following 6 points I'll talk about might resonate with you. And if they do resonate, or if one or two or all of them resonate with you, then it is worth considering a fractional CMO. Firstly, do you lack marketing leadership? Is the proper attention to building and managing marketing departments, marketing programs, is it there and in place in your team? If things feel really organized or you feel like things aren't being maximized to their potential, then potentially you're missing this leadership. Within the leadership team, do you have a strategist for marketing? Lots of times this, at the start or within the first couple of years, that first 25 million of revenue, the strategist isn't a full-time marketer, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. Sometimes the strategist comes from the CEO or a CTO or another founder, or a junior marketer. But is there enough time and attention spent to that strategy and developing it? Yes, maybe not. Are those strategies running stale? Are they incomplete? Maybe they're great, but they're not aligned with vision. So if you don't have a marketing strategist on board, whoever fills that role, there's nobody filling that role, then you're going to move forward with a lack of cohesive vision. Thirdly, does the marketing team feel overwhelmed? And from your analysis, are they overwhelmed not because they are lacking people to do the activities and to activate strategies, but maybe because it's a problem of missing deadlines and opportunities, lack of motivation, lack of alignment, lack of sense of urgency. This can come down to potentially not having the right CMO in place or having that right marketing leader in place. Fourthly, you have a marketing budget. In order to have a fractional CMO, or in order to do marketing, you're going to want to have a marketing budget. So you need a marketing budget to hire marketers, and you need a marketing budget to activate campaigns. And you might have this budget and not be sure where to start, or you might have that budget and you don't want to sink all of it into one individual. So if you have a budget and it might be limited or you're unsure of what to do with it, fractional CMO might be a good fit. The fifth on the list would be that your future growth necessitates marketing. Depending on your industry, depending on your market, depending where you are in the world, depending on a lot of different factors, sometimes marketing isn't absolutely necessary for your growth right now, or sometimes it is necessary for your growth in the future. For the most part, companies need marketing, but they need it on different levels. I would say for B2B SaaS, marketing is so important because sometimes the sales cycles are longer and you need a lot of education and a lot of nurturing through the funnel by marketing activities in order to complete a sale maybe 6 to 12 months down the line. And lastly, you identify all these things. You need marketing, you need leadership, you need the strategy, your growth depends on it. but you don't need a full-time CMO. You don't feel as if investing in a full-time CMO is what your company needs, but you do know that you need somebody to fill a specific gap within the leadership team. Maybe you don't have the funds to do it, or maybe you just don't have the energy to commit to bringing on a full-time CMO, because that is a large commitment for a company to take on. So that's sort of quickly what a fractional CMO is. We talked about maybe self-identifying whether you need one. And then next I'll talk about what it's not, because I think that's important to discuss as well. So fractional CMO, it's not that different from a full-time CMO, but it also is. It's not different in the sense that you can actually expect the same outcomes from a fractional versus a full-time. You want somebody who comes in and provides senior leadership to your marketing department and provides marketing strategies and ensures that the team is working and moving in the right direction that is aligned with your vision as a CEO or co-founder. So they are like that in terms of a full-time CMO similarities. They're not like a full-time because they're not working full-time. So they don't necessarily need to be involved in employment politics or office politics. They don't necessarily need to be involved in meetings that don't necessarily directly impact growth. There's a less of that side of things for them, but they're going to deliver on the marketing and they're going to help you. And they're going to be another senior voice within your company that helps activate your vision. So what are they not, though? They're not a consultant, right? They don't have a limited scope. They're not just there to give advice. They take full ownership of the marketing, and they're there to be the CMO. They're not there to give advice and then leave and watch from afar. They're also not a one-person do-it-all team. That unicorn marketer is very hard to find. A marketer who's very good at strategy, but very operational, who's able to understand every marketing tactic that's out there, activate multiple strategies. The reality is one person, no matter how talented, can only do so much. So a fractional CMO actually gives you the possibility to diversify so you don't rely on one person to do your marketing. Thirdly, they're not external. They're part of your team. An external person is not there to get to know your business, not to get to know your industry, not to get to know your business, not to get to know you and what your vision is. So part-time doesn't mean partially invested. They're fully invested. And quite frankly, I think fractional CMOs sometimes are more invested because they need the business. Their future success and future clientele rely on that. They're typically out of the politics and out of the things that aren't around marketing, so they can really focus on the things that matter to you as a founder or CEO. And they become fully integrated into the team, managing the marketing department, reporting on results, reporting to you, giving you updates, just like you would expect from a CMO. So what are some reasons on why you would choose a fractional CMO over a full-time CMO? Well, typically as a first startup and scale up, you really want to avoid a top-heavy organization. You want to avoid this situation where you have a lot of brain, but you have no legs to put things in motion. You don't want to have the situation where you have a CMO that's very talented, but then you don't have enough resources to activate those strategies and activate their vision. Startups really need to prioritize execution over strategy. Strategy is super important, but it shouldn't take up, 50%, 90% of your budget, 50% or 90% of your time, because really you should be somewhere 10 to 20% strategy focus and then 80 to 90% focus on executing. And that agility as a startup is very valuable, especially when you're trying to grow. You can get somebody in place quicker. Typically, fractional CMOs are more available. and available a little sooner. They also have systems in place to onboard quickly and create impact quickly. You don't need to find a unicorn profile who does everything well and is going to be your full-time marketing department for a while. Those people are impossible to find almost. And if you do find them, they may be lying to you, really, or they might be extremely expensive. And they may get frustrated with not having enough budget left over to activate strategies or force whatnot. You don't want to sink big cash into one person. A diversification of your budget is important. A full-time CMO ties up a lot of resources. Full-time CMOs are expensive, and they should be because they have a lot of leadership and experience that's super valuable, and their salary reflects that. But when you take full-time, you might not want full-time investments in that. You don't need all of that all the time. So a small business needs to be flexible and maintain some sort of agility. So tying, 100,000+, nearly 200,000 in some cases to a full-time CMO might not be the best road for you at this point in time, right? While you're still trying to grow. Also, depending on the market that you're in, full-time permanent contracts can sometimes be very tricky to navigate. And as you know, in the startup or scale-up world, as things fluctuate and change, sometimes you need the flexibility to cut back hours or let some people go or whatever it might be. And having a fractional CMO allows you to be able to do that. And lastly, you want to get more for your budget, right? So you're going to go further with a budget with a fractional CMO than a full-time CMO. Just at the outset, you'll have more for programs. You'll have more budget for hiring people and building out a diverse team that's talented. And you can spend less time and less cash on the strategy side of things and more time on the execution. As evidence of this is a real case scenario. I've anonymized things, but this is generally true. Specifically, this is for the French market, but this similarities, while the figures may change, the similar sort of framework or idea of looking at this is true in most places. So on the left here, you have a salaries with a full-time CMO. So here we have two full-time employees. You have a full-time CMO who's costing $160K, which is pretty standard on the market. If you include all the social charges, if you include benefits and time off and everything it entails to actually hire a full-time employee. Then you have $60K for a marketing specialist. This could be a content marketer. This could be a paid specialist, whatever it might be. So here you have two full-time employees that are costing you $220K. The scenario on the right is with a fractional CMO. Here what we see is 4 employees or 4 members of the marketing department. You have a fractional CMO who's working 1.5 days out of the week on average. That's going to cost you about $80,000, a little less. And then you can hire 2 full-time marketers who are a little more junior, maybe 1 to 5 years of experience, but highly specialized. And you can hire a marketing intern. So here what you see is the same budget is going to give you 3 full-time employees to activate marketing and a leader for those employees who's going to provide strategy and guidance. So you can already see here that the budget is going to go further. And maybe you don't hire that extra marketer, but you use the extra 60, the extra 80K to activate marketing programs. It really depends. But the point is that with a fractional CMO, it's going to fill a gap in your business and give you exactly what you need, but then leave cash to grow marketing and to activate marketing, which is so important. If any of this resonates with you, then I highly encourage you to reach out to me. You can visit my website, cmo-mike.com, shoot me a mail, or connect with me on LinkedIn. I can help you understand whether or not a fractional CMO is the right way forward. It may or may not be. It's not for everyone, and I understand that. But I do believe from my years of experience that this is a very low